Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the DFS show for Wednesday, March 10th. I've been absolutely ice cold lately, so I figured I'd go back to the Bernie Sanders meme for the day, see if that can break this dry spell. Hopefully it works. We've got a pretty good 5-game slate tonight. I think the universe is trying to tell me something. I've been everybody seems to be winning with this data except for me. So hopefully I can turn my luck around. Hopefully you guys have still been having success though, but I've been just ice cold. But I think the universe is trying to tell me something today with the way some of these line combos have switched up. They've kind of gone for what I've been asking for a little while. So hopefully that means something. Probably not. But here we go. 5-game slate. We've got a couple of big dogs on tonight's slate. But the first game is Minnesota and the Golden Knights. Kaapo Kähkönen starts for the Wild. Marc-Andre Fleury confirmed for the Vegas Golden Knights. The Oilers will host the Senators. Mike Smith back in net for Edmonton. Unclear who starts for the Senators. For the Avalanche, it'll be Philip Grubauer. For the Coyotes, Darcy Kemper's out week to week, so it will be either Antti Raanta or Aiden Hill. I would imagine it'll be Raanta. I think they want to get him going, but something just to keep an eye out regardless. For the Ducks, most likely John Gibson, and the Kings will probably have to go back to Cal Peterson. Doesn't look like John Quick is healthy quite yet. But again, both those goaltenders unconfirmed. And then at an 11 p.m. Eastern start. I don't know why that is. It's the latest game ever. But Thatcher Demko confirmed for the Canucks, and Carey Price going for the Canadiens. So if you can stay up late enough for this slate, it's gonna be a grind. Like if you're sitting in first place, no Vancouver or Montreal or something, you got to wait till like 2 a.m. for this contest to wrap up. It's just a wild start time. I've never seen anything like that. David Garland, so cold. Well, at least I'm not alone. I don't know what's going on. Like I can't figure it out. I'm gonna share the Draftkings contest tonight for whatever reason. Every single night, that little $5 contest, I build like a totally different lineup, and it's my worst lineup ever. So like, just come play. You're basically stealing $5 from me at the very least. Hopefully. So anyways, 5-game slate. We'll start at the top here, Minnesota and the Golden Knights. So the one thing that's very interesting about this game, and it's a good thing it's the first game of the night, is Mark Stone is a game time decision. So my 5v5 score that you will see in the Google Sheets is based around Mark Stone not playing. If Mark Stone does play, it changes everything. So we're going under the assumption that he's not going to play, but if it does, I'll kind of try to go over what it could look like if he does play. So let me just pull that up here on my side, so at least I can read it off to you a little bit to help you out. So yeah, if he doesn't play, Alex Tuch expected to stay on that top line. Pretty much the same thing as last game. Same thing goes for Minnesota as well. So in terms of that game, Minnesota 1 grades out as the best option, Minnesota 2 as the second best option, and Vegas 2 as the third best option. If Mark Stone plays, it changes everything because it's a much more difficult matchup for Minnesota 1. They drop down to a below average play, actually right about average. Vegas 2 jumps up to the best play in that slate. It basically just makes every line, like it makes it tougher for Minnesota, but it really doesn't help Vegas offensively much because they have such a brutal matchup with Joel Eriksson Ek. So it makes Vegas 2 a little bit more appealing in the grand scheme of things. But if he doesn't play, it looks like Minnesota 1 and 3 are pretty solid. So we'll start with Minnesota 1, which is Zuccarello, Bjugstad, Kaprizov. So they're going to go basically, all 3 lines for Minnesota are basically just going to see every other line except for that top line. That top line is going to go head-to-head with Joel Eriksson Ek most of the night. And then, the rest of the lines will kind of just roll out against each other for the majority of the night. So that's kind of all you need to know there. So how that works is, the Joel Eriksson Ek line, obviously really, really good. Really, really good defensively. Only 13 scoring chances against per 60, 2.2 high danger. Just tremendous numbers. It's insane how good they are. So that basically just takes Vegas 1 completely out of the equation. I thought that Tuch would be okay in terms of shot volume, and with the additional minutes in the night, it didn't really work out. It's just such a brutal matchup for them. So You don't want to play Vegas or Minnesota 2 either, though. Like the Eriksson Ek line doesn't do much offensively, but they're just basically going to take Vegas one out of the game and hope that their bottom 6, or their bottom 9, I should say, can battle the Golden Knights bottom 9. So Minnesota won pretty good numbers across the board. That Zuccarello, Kaprizov line looks a little bit better with Bugstad, so really good numbers for them. 29 scoring chances, 15 high danger, nice and solid numbers. So they're going to go against this bottom 9, mostly of the Vegas Golden Knights, who aren't that good. But now what happens is if Stone plays, he goes to this first line, and then it bumps Alex Tuch to the third line. And the defensive numbers for the third line are so much better with Alex Tuch than they are Keegan Colasar. So if Stone doesn't play, Minnesota 1 is a very, very appealing option. If Stone does play, they're less attractive. And then I'll probably fade this game altogether, expecting a little bit, another low scoring affair. But Minnesota 3 looks solid as well. If Stone doesn't play, their numbers are pretty good. 29 scoring chances for basically that. They basically mirror that of the top line. So you get them a little bit cheaper. Parise is only 3,000. He's a really, really, really good value play tonight. But Fiala is only 5,400. So they're both really cheap. I don't like Rask that much. Like, you can full stack him if you want to. I just don't like him at all. He doesn't shoot at all. He might get lucky with 1 assist, but it's more about Fiala and Parise for me. Zuccarello and Kaprizov really nicely priced still. So I like that top line. I like that third line if Stone doesn't play. If Stone plays, I think it just makes that lineup so much deeper for Vegas, and it's going to make it that much more difficult for Minnesota to score, and it could be another 2-1 game, and it's just not really something you probably want to chase on this slate. I'm fading that game because it's past my bedtime. Speaking of the Canucks, that's a late one for sure. But so yeah, I guess the only thing I can say is if Stone plays, maybe fade this game altogether. If he doesn't, I think Minnesota 1 and 3 are in really nice spots. Vegas 2 looks okay. As I mentioned, they're basically going to see everybody except for the Joel Eriksson Ek line, mostly the first and third line, who, while they have pretty good offensive numbers, their defensive numbers are so-so, right around average. So Vegas 2 looks okay. Obviously, they're the best option from the Golden Knights. Third line really doesn't get a lot going, even if Tuch's on it. The first line is going to be just getting destroyed by the Joel Eriksson Ek line. So Vegas 2, if you want to play that side, looks like the only really appealing option, but it's not that great of a matchup. The Wild just really are super stout defensively. So I don't like Vegas that much. I think that means that I do have a little bit of interest in Kaapo Kähkönen at 7,400. If we look at the goaltending chart, he grades out okay, right around average. But I still think he's nicely priced at 7,400. He's gonna. It is not the easiest matchup, especially if Stone plays. But if Stone's out, their blue line's still a little bit thin. Pietrangelo remains sidelined. So, if you want to go back to Nick Hague tonight, I think that's just definitely in play. We know for sure that Pietrangelo is not going to play. So Hague's going to play top 4 minutes. He's going to see some power play 2 usage as well. He had 5 shots on goal in the first period the other night. So you can definitely go back there. I think he's only 3,000, one of the best deep punt options on tonight's slate. Theodore is super underpriced. Yes. Absolutely, he is. He's only 5,700, I believe. Yeah, 5,700 for Theodore. He's super cheap. So if you want to one-off him, I think that's totally acceptable. When I was building lineups earlier, I was finding myself with right around that price point available left in the defenseman in some lineups, and I definitely played Theodore. He's super cheap at 5,700. He's been relatively quiet, but he's one of those guys that can easily go over 5 shots at any point in time. He's super, underpriced, I think, at 5,700. So I would agree with you, Brindley FIFA. How did the chart do yesterday? I know it's still in beta. It did okay. Yesterday was kind of a weird slate, right? Like every goalie seemingly allowed a lot of goals. So it was kind of hard to say. Like Vasilevsky was the top. He still got the win. He didn't play very well. Somehow the Red Wings played well. All in all, I don't know if I still have it. No, I don't have it right now in front of me. So I can't really answer that, but it did okay again. It basically just tells you what you want to hear. It's going to be the guys that are good, the guys who have a good matchup, the guys who are expected to win. It doesn't, obviously the shots definitely factors in a little bit, but nothing crazy. That's why you see Thatcher Demko a little bit higher tonight. He's been playing well, and he's going to see a shitload of shots, most out of any goalie on tonight's slate. So 4 or 5 top 5 goalies did great. There you go. See, and it told you not to play Carter Hart, and he shit the bed. So there you go. So yeah, it's working. Vass was on top, and he didn't do well. But all right, second game of the night, Edmonton and Ottawa. So obviously, the other night, you basically had to play Edmonton. Everybody did. I think McDavid was like 70% owned. Draisaitl was like 50 or 60. It was crazy. Yamamoto was even like 35. So with Ottawa not on a back-to-back, slightly less appealing, but still it's like you basically have to play them again. It looks like they're clearly the top stack of the night. But let me just talk about Ottawa for a second. They've gone back to line combinations that I've been screaming for them to go back to, and it's just a beautiful thing. It's just beautiful. Chuck Norris, Batherson, they were outstanding at the start of the year. Don't know why they ever broke them up. They moved Stützle up with White and Dadonov, which is just like the best thing that could ever happen to the DFO DFS show. Then the bottom six, basically, just you don't want to play them at that point. So, with Stützle not there, who cares? So it's all good. It's all good news for the DFO DFS show based on this top six. It's an absolute thing of beauty. So Edmonton 1 grades out as the top stack, obviously. Draisaitl 8,100, McDavid up to 9,300, Yamamoto comes up to 4,800, which is very interesting for tonight's slate. I think it's going to be a make or break play, I would imagine. So Brady Tkachuk 6,900, Norris 4,200, 5,100 for Batherson. Pretty reasonably priced for that top line. They graded extremely well because, as I said, their numbers earlier in the year were outstanding. Ottawa 2 grades out pretty well as well. Stützle, White, Dadonov, terrifically priced at 11,100. Gotta love them tonight. And then I'm probably not going to go to Edmonton 2. Maybe a little bit of Nugent Hopkins, but that line as a whole just doesn't really generate a whole lot. So let's talk about the matchups first. McDavid, 48% of his ice time is going to be against the Tkachuk line, which turns into about 56% of Tkachuk's ice time. So a hard match look there. Nugent Hopkins will basically see most of the second and third line. Same with the third line, and the fourth lines will go head-to-head. It's pretty much all you need to know about that. With McDavid's line going head-to-head with Tkachuk's line, it's going to be interesting. Both lines really, really good offensively, obviously. The Senators' top line actually grades out with the best offensive score in the entire slate. I mean, their numbers are ridiculous. They literally mirror that of McDavid's and slightly better. So, just obviously they look terrific. The fact that they're going head-to-head is a little bit nerve-wracking, I guess. But if you looked at what McDavid's line did the other night against the Senators, they had like 30 shot attempts on goal, but they gave up 16. It was an extremely high event matchup. So if that ends up being the case, stacking these two together in a game stack looks very appealing. If it turns into a high event, high paced matchup, then both these lines could have terrific nights. So I think they're both in play, even though they're going head to head with each other. And hopefully that kind of high event game does break out. As for Ottawa 2, as I mentioned, they're going to see the second and third line of the Oilers, which looks like a really nice matchup. Second line, not very good defensively. Third line is just pretty much trash. So Ottawa 2 looks really, really good. They are a nice pivot off of Ottawa 1 because of the price. You also still get Stützle and Dadonov on that top power play unit. So both these lines look terrific. It's just a matter of which one you want to play, how much you want to spend on the Senators, I would probably, if I was only building one lineup, I would probably lean towards Ottawa 2 just because of the salary savings you get. I mean, it's so nice to save that $5,000 from Ottawa 1. It allows you to fit so much more, and maybe you can play Chabot at that point as opposed to not being able to fit him in. In terms of the power play, both power plays look like they're in play. They have the second and third best power play advantages tonight. Edmonton, obviously, with an outstanding power play. The Senators with a, so penalty kill, not great, but not bad. And then the Oilers have a terrible penalty kill, so that puts the Senators power play in play as well. Thomas Chabot's been red hot. He's got like 10 assists in his last 8 games. So playing Ottawa 2 with Chabot and Edmonton 1, I think is something you could probably fit in, probably something you could go to. So both Ottawa top 2 lines are really, really good options tonight, in my opinion. But if you're only building one lineup, I would probably lean toward Ottawa 2 just for the salary savings. It's about damn time. Finally, Senators. Yeah, it's so good to see. And would it be better to leave Yamamoto off and go with Barrie? So that's what I wanted to get to. Yamamoto is interesting because that Edmonton is going to have a ton of ownership, right? But you can still make your lineups different and target them. And I think one way to do that tonight is by including Yamamoto because, even though McDavid was 70% owned, Yamamoto was only like 30. And that was when he was 3,900. So now that he's 4,800, it's going to be much tougher to fit him in. So maybe he goes down to 15% owned, 10% owned, maybe. So I think in full stacking Edmonton 1 is the way to get a little different tonight because a lot of people were leaving him off the other night when he was 3,900. Now that he's up almost a full $1,000, I think he's going to be left off even more. And I think a lot of people will try to play Barrie instead of Yamamoto. And from an actual, play point of view, I do prefer playing Barrie over Yamamoto. I don't love Yamamoto, but Barry's going to carry much higher ownership than Yamamoto. So I do think full stacking them is going to be a little bit lower owned tonight than, obviously just the Draisaitl McDavid mini is going to be super high owned. It's still going to be like 40%. But including Yamamoto might be 15. It's still, it's guesswork. But, the fact that he was 30 at 3,900, and then now you've got, McKinnon on this slate. Who knows? That's my plan. Edmonton 1 with Ottawa 2 with Chabot. There you go. You said you're ice cold though, so maybe we just threw a hex on them. I have no idea. Hopefully it comes through tonight. But all right, third game of the night, Colorado and the Coyotes. So as I mentioned, McKinnon is back. Missed 3 games with a concussion or a head injury. I guess I shouldn't say a concussion because it wasn't actually. Landeskog, McKinnon, Rantanen back on the top line. Saad, Kadri, Burakovsky on the second line. Nichushkin, Donskoy on the third line. What is the interesting wrinkle in this game? Burakovsky is going to replace Kadri on the top power play unit. So Burakovsky looks like a really, really good option, really good cash game option. He's only 4,400. He's been pretty hot as of late as well. 4 shots in 3 out of his last 4 games. It's definitely an intriguing play. So, obviously full stack in Colorado is going to be expensive, always is. To full stack them, 22,400. So maybe you leave one of those players off like a Rantanen or a Landeskog and you add in Burakovsky at 4,400 to get that $2,000, $3,000 of the salary savings and still get exposure to that top power play unit. So I think that's an interesting way to go about it tonight. He is, I'm one offering Yamamoto, contrary as F. Yeah, it is. Yeah, FIFA's playing 4D chess. He sure is. I mean, you can do that if you want to. Maybe he scores a hat trick, and none of them are assisted by McDavid. Could it happen? Unlikely, but anyways. So Colorado 1 obviously grades as the best. The rest of these lines actually grade out pretty much at average or below average. Landeskog 6,200, McKinnon 87. Obviously, they're super expensive. So like I said, including Burakovsky is an intriguing way to do that. In terms of the matchup, no real hard match here. Colorado 1 is going to go up against the Dvorak line the majority of the time, but it looks like it's going to be spread out, relatively evenly. Nothing to really concern yourselves with, I don't think, in this game. Other than the fact that, look at this. It's like the Avalanche are so good defensively. Obviously, with their blue line banged up, maybe not quite as good. You might have to bump these numbers down a little bit, but overall, those numbers are insane. Arizona's top 2 lines, pretty good offensive numbers, but the matchup is just terrible. So I'm probably not going to look to Arizona too much. I think that they are an interesting pivot if you want to go contrarian a little bit. They are, produce pretty good numbers. Arizona 1, though, going up head-to-head with McKinnon line is going to be tough all night. The second line for the Coyotes is going to see, 30% of McKinnon, 25% of that third line, and 27% of the fourth line. And, you don't really get a break. All 4 lines are really good defensively. So, what did they have the other night, like 2 nights ago? They had like 14 shots or something. Like it could be something similar. They just are, they're a pretty good defensive. They're a really good defensive team, the Avalanche. So even with the banged up blue line, they were able to limit them to 14 shots the other night. So it's tough to really see an avenue for success for the Coyotes tonight. It's just a tough matchup. And, without Raanta, it makes without Kemper with Raanta in or Aiden Hill, it makes the Avalanche even that much more appealing. So I really obviously love their top line. I don't really like the depth pieces of Colorado outside of Burakovsky. Burakovsky will carry some ownership tonight, but 4,400, he's definitely worth it on that top power play unit. And, if you're fading Edmonton 1 and hopefully Matt Murray posts a shutout or whatever, and you want a full stack, Colorado 1, you can easily fit Burakovsky in with that stack. So I like them a lot. If you're targeting their defenseman, obviously Girard's number 1, Taves be number 2. And then Jacob McDonald looks fine too at 2,800. He's been playing more and more, last 3 games, 17.5, 18, and 20.5 minutes. He's got a couple shots to show for it each one of those games, couple block shots. So he looks interesting at 2,800 if you need to punch a defenseman that's going to be playing, for the Avalanche if you can't afford their top end guys. Fourth game of the night, Anaheim and LA, the game that absolutely devastated us the other night. So Troy Terry got hurt in that game. And then what they did was they put Rickard Rakell on the top line with Getzlaf and Comtois. They did not run lines in the morning skate. I don't even know if they had a morning skate. So we're projecting that Rakell will be there. It's not 100%, but it makes sense. Like this is what if it wasn't Vinny Lettieri that was replacing Troy Terry in the lineup, I would think that maybe, if it was Danton Heinen, I would think, maybe they'll play him with Getzlaff. But with it being Lettieri, I think it's probably going to be Raquel going to the top line. They did do it. They played about 6 minutes together, had some success. So I would imagine this will probably be what the Ducks look like. It really, obviously Raquel's been red hot, one of the hottest players in the entire NHL. He's still only 4,900. I still think he's a strong player. His shot volume is as consistent as it gets. For weeks, I was kind of calling for Raquel. I really liked him as a play. He was one of the most unlucky players in the NHL. And, obviously you can't keep a player like that down for too long because he's really, exploded and kind of he's making up for a really slow start all at once here. So he's still a really good option as a one-off at 4,900. As a stacking option, I still don't love the Ducks tonight. As you can see, their top line grades out below average, but they are cheap. So 4,000, 4,300 for Getzlaff and 4,900 for Raquel. So they are still, reasonably cheap. Problem for them, though, is they're going to be going basically head-to-head with Anze Kopitar all night long. As you might imagine, the Kopitar line, really, really good defensive numbers. So not a great matchup. You'd probably be better off to see Raquel stay on that third line, to be honest with you. Excuse me. Like he would get a better matchup if he played on that fourth line or third line, I should say. But it's a tougher matchup for them, but he's just still so red hot. It'd be tough to fade him at 4,900. The Ducks, really, the way that these lines are configured, none of their lines grade out positively. All are below average offensively, and then all are pretty much below average defensively. So I think it's worth targeting the Kings a little bit tonight. I was all over their second line the other night. I think you basically have to go back to them. You could play the third line. In terms of game score, the second line still grades out better than the third line. Kempe obviously went off the other night. I still think the second line is the preferred option. I really like Athanasio's price at 3,200. Velarde and Carter at 41 and 4,200, super cheap. So I still like them tonight. I think that they're probably my preferred play from the Kings. The Kings' top line's obviously still been pretty hot, but they still just don't generate enough for me to be like all gung-ho about them. They're below average offensively. Again, like I say, every single time the Kings play, what really boosts them up is their usage. But overall, on any given shift, they don't generate a whole lot. Obviously, Dustin Brown's, near the league leading goal scoring, which is outrageous. But I still think that, this game is probably not going to be, 5-4 the other night? I don't think it's going to be 5-4 again. I think we're probably in for a little bit of a lower scoring game tonight. So I'm probably not going to target this game too much, but if I am, it's going to be through Kings 2. They do all correlate together on the second power play unit, I should say. And then if you want to play them with Walker, Sean Walker, he's only 2,900. He's been pretty consistent in terms of the shots. The usage has been really good, right around 18 minutes every night. So they're a really, really cheap stack. They're going to be super low owned, and then you can pair them with pretty much whoever you want at that point. AA is super cheap. Cal Peterson bounce back. Yeah, I think there's a chance. I've got some Cal Peterson PTSD. It's going to be tough to play him. I think I like Kakinen better at, $100 cheaper. But the one thing that is interesting about Peterson is everybody got burned by him the other night. So he's going to be super, super cheap. He doesn't grade out. The other night, he graded out as the third best goaltending option on the slate. It's not the same tonight. Actually, I think he was second. Not the same tonight. So I'm going to trust this little model here, this new model, and just think that hopefully it works because he doesn't look that great. All things considered, just probably not going to see the shot volume that some of these other goalies are either. So I'm probably going to stay away from Peterson. But if you want to go back to him and just hope there's a bounce back, he's going to be super low. So that's pretty much it for that game. And then the 11 o'clock Canucks and Canadiens. Demko versus Price. Very interesting game. So here is what the Canadiens have done. Their lineup looks amazing too. Finally dropped Phil Deneau to the third line. More of a shutdown role. It is amazing how good this lineup looks when they do that. So Drew and Suzuki Anderson reunited up top. So Foley with Kotkaniemi remains, but they will get Brendan Gallagher on the wing, which is awesome. Really, really good play driver, Brendan Gallagher. So he's going to help that line quite a bit. And then Tatar, Deneau, and Armia is just basically a shutdown line at this point. Obviously, it's not as appealing when they're on the road, from a coaching perspective, but they'll still be able to get them out there mostly against the, probably the Miller line, maybe the Horvat line, and they'll be able to do their puck possession ways and score no goals. But Does my model take into account home and away shots? No, it just takes account home and away matchups, which is basically what dictates that altogether. Home and away is kind of a noisy stat. Basically, just whatever you're going to match up against because of that home and away split. So this game, Montreal 2 grades out the best. That's Toffoli, Kotkaniemi, and Gallagher. But Montreal 1 right behind them. Montreal 3 still going to grade out okay because, Deneau is still going to do some puck possession work. Canucks all grade out below average. Elias Pettersson still out. So doesn't look like, it's going to, again, not really any opportunities for the Canucks to get anything going at 5v5. How the Canucks will match up is basically going to be Horvat 50% of his ice time against Suzuki, and then the rest of the other two lines will kind of just see the second and third lines of the Canadiens. So what these numbers look like with these shuffled lineups, really, really good across the board for the Canadiens. The second line does have the best numbers. I think that they're probably my preferred play, although I do like that Suzuki line. Horvat, for whatever reason, with Virtanen on that top line, and as opposed to Niels Höglander, the numbers are terrible defensively. So, even though they hard match you against Suzuki or whatever, they're trying to use them as a shutdown line. It's not working. They're getting absolutely crushed. So Suzuki's line should have their way with Horvat line tonight, so long as Virtanen's still on the top line, which he was at the morning skate, so no reason not to expect that. So Suzuki should have his way with the Horvat line tonight. The second line is going to see mostly the second and third lines of the Canucks. The Sutter line's been okay, still below average defensively. The Miller line without Pettersson's been a disaster defensively. So just, all three of these lines look like they're in terrific spots, but there's no reason to play that Deneau line. So Montreal 1 and 2 look outstanding. There's really, it's amazing what happens when I say, like, hey, I hope these teams go to these lines, because when they do, this is what they look like. They look so good. And there's a reason that you kind of hope, because when they're together, their numbers are so strong. So, to me, it's a great night. It's an easy night to build lineups because there's so many targets that are appealing to us based on the numbers. So Montreal 1 and 2 look outstanding. It's the same thing as Ottawa. Ottawa 1 and 2 look outstanding. It kind of comes down to preference. In terms of price, Montreal 1's actually cheaper. Jonathan Drouin, Nick Suzuki, Josh Anderson are cheaper. The good thing about them is they all correlate on the top power play unit. But again, it is kind of like a 1A, 1B situation for the Canadiens. They do use their second power play unit quite a bit. If we look at the power play report, their top unit only sees about 59.3% of the ice time. So they do use both units pretty evenly, as opposed to Edmonton, who 89% goes to McDavid, which why wouldn't you? They all correlate on the top power play unit, but, it's basically like whoever has the hot hand. Like the other night, the first goal in that game was scored by, I think, Petrie from Tatar and Kotkaniemi. Like, it was a second power play goal. So it all depends, on your preference. If you want to go down, the narrative that Toffoli owns the Canucks, then I think, play Montreal 2, because they do look a lot better with Gallagher on that wing. But if you want to play the top line for the salary savings, then they're definitely a strong option as well. Montreal PP1 or line 2-3. Line 2-3 man is my question. To me, stacking the power play is interesting, because I think the one piece you want from that second line more than anything is Toffoli, and he's on that top power play unit with all of Montreal 1. So the power play stack makes sense. In terms of the power play report, it doesn't love the Canadiens. They don't draw a ton of penalties. Their power play is not very good. The Canucks penalty kill is right around average. So I think that it's going to just come down to what else you want to play realistically. If you want to play the McDavid, Draisaitl, you want to play a McKinnon, then you're probably not going to be able to stack Montreal's power play, because Toffoli is just too expensive. So it just really kind of all depends on what you want to play. Izzy prefers Habs too. Yeah, like honestly, it's basically a matter of preference at this point. I think that you probably are going to have much more reliable production for Montreal 2 in terms of the shot volume. It should be much better. Drew and Suzuki, not known for their shot production. Toffoli, Gallagher, are known a little bit more for that consistent shot volume. So I think that in terms of the safer floor, no question about it, it's Montreal 2. But I think that they probably have right around the same upside, and Montreal one is a little bit cheaper. So it kind of just depends on what your preference is. If you're playing if we're talking cash, I think that Montreal two is obviously much safer, but they're also more expensive. So kind of just boils down to what you like. Hopefully, Kotkaniemi at 3,400 is interesting in that spot. Hopefully he plays like 16 minutes tonight in the middle there, and they don't kind of just end up bumping Dano up there or something stupid, and then Dano plays 20 minutes and Kotkaniemi plays 13. It's going to be kind of interesting to see how it all works out with these new lines. But yeah, I think they're both really, really good options. It's tough to distinguish between the two, which one's better, but they're both outstanding. So in terms of overall, Edmonton 1 grades out as the best. And this is, again, full stacking option. Edmonton 1 is the best. Ottawa 1 is second. Colorado 1 is third. Montreal 2, LA Kings 1, Minnesota 1, Montreal 1, and Montreal 3, and then Minnesota 3. Kind of how it all works out tonight from a stacking perspective. Again, this is just basically if you're new to the show, this is basically just the size of their advantage in comparison to the rest, like their advantage at 5v5 in comparison to the rest of the slate. So 0 being average, Edmonton is 9 points high above average compared to the rest of the lines. 43 people in here and only 8 likes. Let's go, people. Yeah, come on, 8 likes. What are y'all doing? I can't even see that until I get off here. So yeah, smash that like button, please do. I'm gonna share it again if you guys want to join our 25-man Draftkings contest. It is only $5. It is a nice contest to join if you're kind of new to Draftkings, if you're just learning how to play, because you don't need the best lineup to win, especially with me in there. So it's basically a 24-man contest because I've been dog shit. Brock, are you a Wings fan? Yes, I am. Dylan Larkin right there. I'm an all Detroit sports fan. Wings, Tigers, Lions. Not much of a basketball guy, but Pistons in their heyday were good. So yeah, disappointing year for me. But yeah, it looks like the NHL too is getting better in terms of DraftKings. Their contests are getting bigger and bigger. Obviously, they were massive while the NBA was on the All-Star break. But even tonight, still a pretty good contest at the top. So make sure you guys are filling up those contests, because if we keep filling them up, we're going to keep they're going to keep bringing them to us, and the contests are going to keep getting bigger. And hopefully one day we can be, we can be like the rest of the sports. Why does it Steve fire Blashill? Because there's just no point. Mid-season, who cares? Let him keep fucking up. I just don't know why he's scratching Evgeny Svechnikov, but whatever. So yeah, go back to the goalies here for a minute. I kind of got sidetracked. I forgot about goalies. I forgot about defensemen. So Mike Smith grades out as the best. And that's, basically they have the best odds to win tonight. So that helps him. He's going to see expected to see the second most shots. So that's kind of what grades out. You still want to go that's going to see a lot of shots. So Mike Smith grades out as the top. Am I going to play a lot as Mike Smith? Probably not, because I really, really like Ottawa. But in lineups, we're not playing Ottawa because I think Ottawa is going to be popular. Mike Smith looks pretty appealing. Marc-Andre Fleury grades out second. I think Fleury is an outstanding option tonight. I think that's going to be a low-scoring game. I think he's going to be under-owned because I think a lot of people will flock to Kaapo Kähkönen in that game and expect kind of a repeat of the other night. So I think Fleury is appealing. I think he's one of the best options on the slate. Thatcher Demko expected to see the most shots on the entire slate, so obviously he grades out pretty well. But I don't love him because I don't think that's a game that they're going to win. But he's been outstanding as of late. So, if you need to go down all the way to the bottom here and play him, I'm probably not going to play Raanta. I'm probably not going to play Matt Murray, but I will play Thatcher Demko, in a pinch. If you're just going crazy at the top of your lineup and you just need to play a cheap goalie, Demko looks fine because, even if they lose 3-2, he could make 37 saves. So he looks okay. Grubauer, I probably won't go there. He's just too expensive for the amount of shots he's going to see. He grades out, expect to see the second fewest shots the fewest shots on the entire slate. Obviously, they've got outstanding odds to win. So he's one of the safest options to win tonight, but just not going to see a whole lot of shots. So I don't like him. If he sees 14 shots again, there's really no point in playing him. Kähkönen looks really appealing as well. If they can steal another 2-1 win, maybe even 3-2, Kähkönen looks awesome at 7,400. It's a really good price. My favorite goal on the slate is probably Carey Price, 7,800, right in the middle of the road of all these goaltenders. In terms of Vegas, they really like their odds, third best odds to win on the slate. In terms of the shots on goal, kind of right around the middle of the road. So I I think he's a really, he's appropriately priced at 7,800 because he's had his struggles so far this year. But that Canucks team without Elias Pettersson is going to have a hard time. And I just really like what Montreal's done with that lineup. I think it's going to make them much better offensively, and it should just further increase Price's chances of winning this evening. Go Blues! Wings used to break my heart in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Yeah, great rivalry back in the day, though. Absolutely. I used to hate Kachuk back in the day. Such a dirty bastard. Now his sons are just the same player as him, and they're awesome. So, if you're not playing them in that rivalry, it's great. Value defenseman. So I'll go through all the defensemen. Tyson Barrie looks awesome. His shot volume has been through the roof as of late, so no reason not to play Tyson Barrie if you can fit him in a Red Wings stack, or Red Wings Oilers stack. I wish we had Tyson Barrie. Thomas Chabot, probably my second favorite defenseman at 6,000. He's just been, you'd like to see some more shot volume out of him, but if they're going to score some goals tonight, he's most likely going to factor in. Nobody plays more than Thomas Chabot. Sometimes over 27 minutes on a night, so you got to love what you're getting out of him there. Theodore, like we mentioned, really, really underpriced at 5,700. Sam Girard getting up to 5,100 is a little concerning, but he has increased his shot volume lately because he's seen an increased usage. So, he played 27 minutes the other night. So even though he might not be quite the offensive dynamo, in terms of the shots and the block shots that you can get with lower price defensemen, his offensive upside is untapped, unmatched on this slate, really. So he still looks really good on that top power play unit. And if he's playing 27 minutes, you got to like what you're getting there. Alex Edler's finally gotten up to a price where it's like you got to think about playing him, but he's still blocking a shitload of shots. And in a team that fires as many pucks on net as the Canadians do, his opportunity to block shots tonight will be through the roof. So decent floor guy at 4,700. If you can't afford, what's his name? Chabot. Zaitsev looks okay, 4,300. He's blocking a ton of shots. Obviously doesn't have the same offensive upside, but his usage is very similar, 20 to 25 minutes. So you got to like some of the shot block upside. Ryan Suter screwed us the other night, but I still do like him. Obviously, you can't really bank on a Minnesota power play goal because their power play sucks. But he still plays a ton of minutes. He is on that top power play. If they decide to cash, he is going to be playing with all those top Minnesota players. So Suter at 3,800 looks like a nice value defenseman. As we move our way down, the value is very few and far between tonight. Travis Hamonic blocking shots, getting pucks on net like crazy. So you got to like him at 3,100. Nick Hag at 3,000 with Pietrangelo is a really appealing play. Played 21 minutes with Pietrangelo the other night, 5 shots on goal. So you got to like what you're getting from Nick Hag. I like Sean Walker at 2,900. Eric Brandstrom at 2,800. Ian Cole plays quite a bit with Minnesota 3. So if you're kind of like stacking up your lineup and you need to kind of fill maybe last 2 pieces and you want them to correlate, Cole and Zach Parise combined salary is $5,700. And Ian Cole is going to play a lot with at 5v5 with Minnesota 3. So there's some decent 5v5 correlation there. Maybe you get lucky. Both extremely cheap. So that makes them kind of an appealing little mini at the, obviously the upside is very limited, but at that price, 5,700 for both of them, you can really jam in anything else you want at the top of your lineup. Outside of that, there's really not a whole lot to like towards the bottom. I still will throw Ethan Bear in my Oilers stacks because, if you need a minimum price defenseman, obviously not playing nearly as much as he was last year with Darnell Nurse, but still seeing, anywhere between 15 and 19 minutes a night, and he plays for an Oilers team that's scoring a ton. So Bear at minimum price looks fine too. Who are your top 2 favorite stacks for tonight? I want to know so I can cross them off. That's rough. Ouch, that's killer. Probably probably Ottawa too. I love that Dadonov white line all season long, and I've loved what Stutzel's brought to the table for Ottawa. Oh man, that's a dagger. So yeah, Ottawa too, I absolutely love them. At that price, 11,000 is really, really good. And then outside of them, probably Montreal too, to fully Kotkaniemi and Gallagher. I just really like what they bring as a floor. I did say that the Canadians were going to crush the Canucks the other night. It never really happened. They did, carry the play to them like you might expect. So I think that tonight with these new lines should be a smash spot for the Canadians. I really like them. I'm totally lying on myself. I have not. No, these are real. Any love for Matt Murray, even though he's graded dead last, especially with Ott being in such a good spot. No, because like one, I don't even know if he's starting for sure. I mean, Decord looked pretty good. Maybe they go back to him. I would imagine it's Murray. But like with Draisaitl and McDavid playing together, like how do you not expect them to score like 4 goals? It's too tough of a matchup. Like I'd rather pay up to $300 for Demko. He's going to see the same amount of shot volume and has a much better chance of stopping more pucks than Matt Murray. So, if you want to completely fade me, then probably play Matt Murray tonight. But yeah, I guess the one thing you can say is that if you're building like a super contrarian lineup and you're fading Edmonton 1, then yeah, screw it. Throw Matt Murray in there, and pay for Colorado 1 and another expensive line, Ottawa 1 or something like that, and hope that he has a huge night and Edmonton 1 bust at 40% owned, and then and yeah, but yeah, thanks for the show. Good luck, fellas. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I got. Just a reminder, if you are new to the show, and you want to get access to any of these charts or all of these charts, I should say, you have to join DFO Premium. Obviously, you can get them on the show like you are now, but this is 5:56 locks in an hour. So these were posted at like 1 in the afternoon today, so it gives you a lot more time to study. You also get access to our Discord channel where we talk puck all day long. We also any late breaking warm up news or changing lines I provide in there, and then you just kind of get updates throughout the day in terms of where these sheets are. If there's any changes in lineups, obviously I make changes to these sheets, all that good stuff. So yeah, join. You can do it for as little as $9.99 for the week, $19.99 for the month. And yeah, it's worth it. You're supporting me. So if you like the show, be nice if you join. But if you don't want to join and you want to still support the show, at least just smash that like button for me. Helps a lot. But yeah, hopefully tonight the Bernie Sanders at the start instead of Matthews and Leon breaks the ice tonight. I'm still having some success, but just no wins, no big wins. I don't know what's going on. Start of the year was so good, and middle of the year here sucks. So anyways, good luck to everybody tonight. Hope you return tomorrow with more money than you've got tonight. Good luck to everybody. Make sure you smash that like button. And if you haven't already, here one more time is the contest link. We got to fill that contest up because if we don't fill it up, it doesn't run. So good luck to everybody tonight. See you guys back here same time, same place tomorrow, 5:15, big slate for Thursday.